Good evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye. Now, before we get to the stories that we've prepared for you, another announcement that came in from the Delhi government today that just like it has done over the last 3 years, the Delhi government has completely banned the sale, the storage and the use of any type of firecrackers during Diwali because of the pollution. This was announced by Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who also said the reason why the announcement is coming so early this year is so traders don't stock firecrackers because that will cause them to incur losses. He said, we're telling you early so that you don't incur the losses, so please don't stock the firecrackers at all. Let's get straight to the news that we have lined up for you today. To begin with, India has hit out at Pakistan as well as the Organization of Islamic Cooperation for raising the Kashmir issue before the UN Human Rights Commission. Now, at the 48th session of the Human Rights Council, India said Pakistan is globally recognized as a country openly supporting, training, financing and arming terrorists, including UN-prescribed terrorists as a matter of state policy. Now, India basically said that we do not need lessons from a failed state like Pakistan, which is the epicenter of terrorism and the worst abuser of human rights. India's representative to the UN basically said that it has become a habit of Pakistan to misuse platforms provided by the UN Council to propagate false and malicious propaganda against India. In Tamil Nadu, a third teenager in as many days has died of suicide because of the NEET examinations. A 17-year-old young girl has allegedly died of suicide. This brings the total count now to 3 suicides altogether. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has put out a statement appealing to students of the state not to lose hope and take drastic steps. He has assured them that his government will continue the legal struggle against NEET in Tamil Nadu. On Monday, the Tamil Nadu Assembly passed a bill for the permanent exemption from the central medical examination for all students from the state. This was after the first suicide was reported. The Supreme Court today took objection to the manner in which the central government recently cleared appointments in various tribunals. This is appointments of judges. A bench headed by Chief Justice N.V. Ramana noted that the recommendations made by the Search and Selection Committee were acted upon in what he called an unsatisfactory manner, with certain candidates being cherry-picked by the government while others were kept on hold. Now, this is a very serious thing to pay attention to. He also said that the same thing happened with the Income Tax Tribunal. On the 6th of September, the court observed that the government had failed to fill vacancies and gave an ultimatum to the government to act on the recommendations by the Search and Selection Committee or to face contempt of court. Attorney General K.K. Venugopal, who represents the central government in court, argued that it was holding the UPSC examinations and the centre decided not to accept the recommendations of the search committee and acted as per judgment. Now, this is important because when people are appointed to tribunals, so for example, an income tax tribunal is where citizens and corporates go to actually argue that there has been some problem with the income tax and what the government is charging them or notices that the government has served them. If the government is cherry-picking people who actually wind up on that tribunal, then it will be people who actually rule in favor of government. So it's a very serious thing to come out of the Supreme Court, especially the Chief Justice of India. An update on the farmer protest, and this is also interesting. The National Human Rights Commission has taken note of the farmer protest, but not from the point of the human rights of the farmers, but from the point of the rights of corporates and factories. Now, let me explain how this has played out. The National Human Rights Commission has issued notices to the central government and the state governments of Delhi, Rajasthan, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh over the adverse impact of the ongoing farmers' protest on industrial units and transportation. In its statement, the National Human Rights Commission has said, and I quote, there are allegations of adverse impact on industrial units, seriously affecting more than 9,000 micro, medium and large companies. Allegedly, transportation has also been adversely impacted, causing commuters, patients, physically challenged people and senior citizens to suffer because of congestion on the roads. There's also reports that people have to travel long distances to reach their destinations because of the farmer protest and barricades that have been put up at the borders. The Institute for Economic Growth has been requested to examine the impact or the adverse impact of the farmers' protest on industrial and commercial activities and disruption of transport services. They will submit a report on the 10th of October. Now, this actually raised a few eyebrows on social media because the National Human Rights Commission is meant to argue for human rights and not the rights of, say, factories or transportation. But it's an interesting development that has taken place. In the meantime, the Indian Met Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall for North Konkan, North Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan. Areas of Gujarat and Chhattisgarh have been experiencing flood-like situations already. Low-lying areas of Chhattisgarh are submerged due to a rise in the water levels of the rivers. Gujarat's Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel has visited the flood-affected areas of Jamnagar. The Indian Navy has also joined the rescue and relief efforts right now in Gujarat, where incessant rain and flooding have inundated several parts of the state. Well, on to an update on our COVID numbers, and it's starting to look a little better over the last 1 week or so. India's reported 27,176 new COVID cases, 284 deaths in the last 24 hours. Kerala has reported about 17,600 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. There's one more vaccine in the works. The single-dose Sputnik Light COVID vaccine has received an approval from the Subject Expert Committee of the DGCA, which is the Drugs Controller General of India, in phase 3 trials, to conduct phase 3 trials in India. This comes after there was a study published in the medical journal Lancet that said that this particular light vaccine has 78 to 83% efficacy, which is higher than several of the double-dose vaccines. An update now from the world of business. The Sensex ended the day on a new high of 58,723. The Nifty ran up about 139 points to end the day at 17,519. What caused them to jump? Well, government has announced relief for the telecom sector. The government has announced a 4-year moratorium for telecom dues starting the 1st of October. So basically, the two old telecom companies in India, which is Vodafone and Bharti Airtel, are due to pay the government large amounts of money as fees that have been accruing over many years. And they both said that if they're required to pay that fees this year, that they wouldn't be able to continue business. And it was becoming very difficult for them. The government has now given them a 4-year moratorium, which means they can take the next 4 years to make that payment. And that obviously made the stock market very happy. Union Minister for Communications Ashwini Vaishnav today announced, and I quote, "The cabinet has decided to allow 100% FDI as well through automatic route into the telecom sector, and also a moratorium of 4 years approved for dues of telecom service providers. They will avail of this moratorium, but they'll have to pay interest on it at the marginal cost of funds." So basically, they can take the next 4 years, but they'll have to pay interest on it. Also, there's an approval for 100% FDI, which means they can bring in investments for overseas as well. The move was aimed to provide relief to telcos like Bharti Airtel and Vodafone Idea, who have to pay thousands of crore rupees in unprovisioned statutory dues. So this is money they were not prepared to pay, that they now have to pay the government. Also, this comes weeks after billionaire Kumaramanglam Birla resigned as the chairperson of Vodafone Idea. In other news, according to NDTV, Tata has submitted its bid for Air India for the sale. The Finance Ministry has announced that Air India has received financial bids, including Tata's, for the disinvestment process. Remember, Air India has a debt right now, loans that it hasn't paid, of 43,000 crore rupees, of which 22,000 crore will also be transferred to Air India Asset Holding Limited. Currently, Tata operates Vistara in partnership with Singapore Airlines and AirAsia in partnership with Malaysia's AirAsia. In an interview with a US magazine called Verge, WhatsApp's global CEO Will Cathcart has said that India's new IT rules undermine user security. He basically said that there are IT rules in India, and I'm quoting him. The specific thing is that those rules will require us to build a system to comply. That if someone says, hey, someone has said the words XYZ, the government could ask us to tell them who was the first person to say the words XYZ. That is not private. It undermines the security of end-to-end encryption. I think 10 years from now, he says, even more of our lives will be online, even more of our sensitive data will be online, and then even more sophisticated hackers, spyware companies, hostile governments, and criminals will be trying to access it. Not having the best security means information can be stolen, and there are real consequences to a free society. The more some countries see other countries do it and push for it, they will all want to push for it. Remember, the government of India passed rules, the new IT rules that required WhatsApp to break its end-to-end security and tell the government who was the first person to send a message on WhatsApp that then went viral. WhatsApp says it can't do that without breaking its entire interface and violating the privacy of all its citizens. Apple on just last night launched its much-awaited next-generation iPhone 13 in 5 new colors, but that was not what was exciting about it. It is also apparently designed using recycled material. Under the iPhone series, iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 mini will both have diagonal lenses. The 13 series has a ceramic shield up front, and it also features IP68 water resistance. Both of these iPhones have a display that is 20% brighter. The iPhone 13 Pro will start at, from what we are being told, 1.19 lakh rupees for a phone, and 1.29 lakh rupees for the Pro Max. There was also a new iPad mini and the new generation of Apple Watch series that was launched. Incidentally, we understand that this is perhaps the first time that this new generation of iPhone will be available in India at the same time that it's available everywhere else in the world. News coming in now from across the world. Both North and South Korea have tested ballistic missiles on Wednesday, building tensions in that neighborhood. This comes 2 days after North Korea claimed it tested a new missile. Remember, we told you about this, which was its first weapons test in about 6 months. The tests, we understand, are not in violation with UN sanctions. Or the United Nations Security Council, which banned North Korea from developing or testing ballistic missiles. Now, Japan's PM has also called the missile launch outrageous and said it strongly condemns the action as it is a threat to peace and security in the region. And a quick update from the world of science and technology. Billionaires continue to go to space. As of today, SpaceX will be sending 4 civilians into orbit on a mission that's called Inspiration 4. Now, interestingly, this is despite the fact that the previous 2 trips that were organized by billionaires, one by Amazon and the other one by Virgin Galactic, as it's called, received some criticism about the carbon emissions of these what were called joyrides to space. There's another one planned for today. This will be SpaceX's first all-civilian crew that will be launched into orbit. There are 4 people on board: billionaire Jared Isaacman, geoscientist Sian Proctor, cancer survivor Haley Anarox, and data engineer Chris Sembrowski are going to be on board. It's a 3-day expedition. It's much longer than the others. They will circle the globe every 90 minutes, traveling at 17,000 miles per hour, roughly 22 times the speed of sound. An update now from the world of sports. BCCI has announced that the Indian Premier League 2021, that was suspended because of COVID, will now resume on the 19th of September in the UAE. Fans can buy tickets starting the 16th of September. The first game will be held between the Mumbai Indians and the Chennai Super Kings. The 14th season of IPL was postponed in May this year because of the second wave of COVID, you'll remember. Also, Olympic gold medalist Neeraj Chopra's coach, Hohn, has been sacked by the Indian government. The Athletics Federation of India has said it was not happy with his recent performance, and it will hire 2 new foreign coaches soon to replace him. The Athletics Federation of India Commission Chief Lalit Bhanot has revealed that several javelin throwers, including gold medalist Chopra, said they didn't want to train with Hohn anymore. But we must also remind you that a month before the Olympics, Hohn had actually slammed the Sports Authority of India and the Athletics Federation of India on 2 counts. One, the fact that he said he was blackmailed into signing his new contract, that he didn't actually get the pay that he wanted. He also said that the training facilities in India were extremely poor. Again, people are wondering if that is the reason why he is being removed. And a piece of positive news, as always, before we leave you for today. Ola Electric has announced that it will employ 10,000 women in its factory in Tamil Nadu, where it's making its electric scooters. This is said to be the world's largest electric vehicle plant. It will be run entirely by women. Ola CEO Bhavish Agarwal tweeted today saying India's women will bring the electric vehicle revolution from India to the world. When women are equal participants in India's economic growth, India will lead the world. He also said that this is the first in a series of initiatives that Ola will be undertaking to create more inclusive workforces and provide economic opportunity to women across the board. Well, it's good news in my book, at least. That brings us to the end of the news this evening. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any feedback for us, it would be my pleasure to hear from you. If you don't have feedback, then just leave us a thumbs up in the comment section. It means that we're doing a good job and we'd appreciate that from you. Thank you so much for listening. Good night.